Hello, hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Heather Corinne, and today we're going to be crocheting this adorable Corgi Coffee Cozy. I just love how cute this turned out. I'll post a list of materials and stitches we'll be using in the description box below, as well as a link to my blog post where I've typed this pattern out for you. Let's get started on this adorable crochet project. We'll begin with white worsted weight yarn and a size G or 6mm crochet hook. We're going to create a slip knot to place on our hook. And then we're going to chain 35 chain stitches. This pattern is designed to fit a standard Starbucks reusable coffee mug, but you can adjust this pattern to fit the mug of your choice. You just want to chain the amount of chain stitches that fit around your mug and then add one chain stitch to fit around the mug. So if, let's say, 30 stitches fits around your mug, you'd want to chain 31 stitches. So here I've chained 35 chain stitches, and we'll move on to row 1. For rows 1 through 5, we're going to single crochet in each stitch across. That'll be a total of 34 stitches per row. So just single crocheting in each stitch. At the end of each row, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work around. So I will meet you back at the end of row 5. Here we are chaining 1 at the end of each row and turning the work around and continuing to single crochet in each row until the end of row 5. At the end of row 5, we'll switch colors, so I'll catch you back then to show you how I change colors. Fun fact, I always wanted a corgi and I've always thought they were the cutest animals ever. It's like a big dog head on a little dog body. And so Keith loves corgis too. So I thought it was the coolest thing that we both liked corgis, and maybe one day we'll decide to get one together. So here we are coming up on the end of row 5. We're going to switch over to our yellow gold yarn on this last stitch. So we're going to pull through a loop, and instead of pulling through with white yarn, we're going to pull through with this yellow gold yarn. So pulling through those 2 loops, we're going to pull tight on the loose end of the yellow and the loose end of the white and chain 1 and turn the work and continue working just like normal, except that now we're working with our yellow gold yarn instead of the white yarn. Once we've worked a couple stitches, we can tie off with the old piece of the white yarn with that new tail of the yellow gold, just a couple of little knots, and we'll tie off with a long enough white tail to stitch up a seam in the end. So rows 6 through 12, we're going to single crochet in each stitch across for a total of 34 stitches per row. I will catch you back at the end of row 12. If you're enjoying this tutorial, please take a moment to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Your support allows me to continue creating these free tutorials for you, so I really appreciate it a lot, and you'll get notified when I upload new content. Here we are coming up on the end of row 12. So after this last stitch, we're going to chain one and tie off with a relatively short tail. And this is our main base of our coffee cozy. And next we'll move on to working on our ears. So we're going to place a slip knot on our hook. And then we're going to join in the 11th stitch from the right. So we're just going to count over 11 stitches. And insert the hook, and we're going to single crochet in the next 5 stitches. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5 stitches. And this is the beginning of one of our ears. We're going to chain one and turn it around. Next, we're going to single crochet decrease. And then single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So that was a total of 4 stitches. Chain one and turn. Now we're going to single crochet decrease. And then single crochet in the next 2 stitches for a total of 3 stitches for this row. Chain one and turn, single crochet decrease, and single crochet in the next stitch, chain one and turn, and lastly we're going to single crochet decrease, chain one, and then tie off with a long enough tail that we can weave in our ends. And this is the base for one of our ears. So we're just going to make a slip knot and attach it to our crochet hook, and we're going to repeat these same rows 13 through 17 in the next ear. So we're going to skip 4 stitches. So in that 5th stitch we're going to repeat this over again. So we're going to single crochet 5 stitches in a row, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain one, turn, single crochet decrease, and single crochet in the next 3 stitches, chain one, and turn, single crochet decrease, single crochet in the next 2 stitches, chain one, and turn, single crochet decrease, single crochet in the next stitch, chain one and turn, and single crochet decrease, chain one, and tie off with a long enough tail to weave in the ends. And like I said, there are 4 stitches in between these ears. So next we're going to take our handy dandy tapestry needle and clean up these loose ends on the ears. We're just going to weave them in to kind of get them out of the way. I'll show you one example of how I like to weave in the ends. So particularly where we join in, I like to go down through one of these stitches just to kind of secure that edge and run the tapestry needle through several stitches, maybe 3 or 4 in one direction. And then turning in the other direction, only skipping 1 stitch and running it back through those same stitches, and then trimming off the excess. That secures it in there and hides it from view, and it won't come unraveled. So now I'm just going to weave in the rest of these loose ends so that we can move on to the finishing row on these ears. For the finishing row, we're going to attach a slip knot to our hook. And we're going to join to this far right corner on what would have been the 13th row if we hadn't have attached the ears. And we're going to create another row of single crochet all the way across and over the ears. There's going to be a couple of exceptions, so I'll show you those when we get to them. So we're single crocheting until we reach this ear. So the stitch at the very bottom corner of the ear, right there. See this bottom corner? We're going to slip stitch. And then we're going to move on single crocheting until we get to the top. And that last stitch right before we get to the very tip of the ear, so here, we're going to chain 1, then single crochet in the top of the ear, chain 1 again, and then continue single crocheting down the other side of the ear. Then in this bottom corner, we're going to slip stitch again. And now we've successfully gone around one of the ears. You see how much more finished that looks and how corgi-ish it's turning out. So now we'll continue single crocheting in between the ears, and we're just going to repeat the same exact thing we did to the first ear on the second ear. So when we get to the second ear on that bottom corner, we're going to slip stitch, single crochet up that right side, and in that last stitch before we get to the very top of the ear, we're going to chain 1, single crochet in the very top, chain 1, and then single crochet down the other side of the ear. And then we'll slip stitch in that bottom corner once we get back down to it. And after that, it's smooth sailing, single crochet all the way until the end of this row. We will chain one and tie off with a long enough tail to create a seam at the end. And now we're finished with the base of our coffee sleeve, and we'll move on to the additions. So next we'll move on to the muzzle. With white yarn, we're going to create a magic circle. And inside that magic circle, we're going to single crochet 6 stitches. Once we have 6 stitches in the magic circle, we can pull this loose end tight and move on to round 2. Round 2, we're going to place 2 single crochet in the first stitch. So here's 1 single crochet, and then our second single crochet in that same stitch. I'm going to go ahead and pop in a stitch marker into that first stitch, and then we're going to place 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and we're going to repeat this sequence all the way around. 2 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, for a total of 9 stitches for round 2. For round 3, we're going to place 2 single crochet in the first stitch. Pop that stitch marker into the first single crochet, and then we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So that's 1 and 2, and we're going to repeat this all the way around. 2 single crochet in the first, 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, for a total of 12 stitches for round 3. As you can see, it's going to start to curl, so you just want to make sure that the correct side is facing outward, so the right stitches are on the outside. For round 4, we're going to single crochet in each stitch around, so that'll be a total of 12 stitches for round 4. At the end of round 4, we're going to slip stitch into that next stitch, chain 1, and tie off with a long enough tail to attach the muzzle to our coffee sleeve. Next, we'll just take a small strand of black yarn and our tapestry needle, and we're just going to stitch a small triangle shape onto the tip of the muzzle to create the cute little black corgi nose. So I'm just stitching on a triangle, and this triangle is going into what is the beginning of that magic circle. And once we've got the base of this triangle, we'll go over it one more time just to make it nice and thick so that you can't see through the black to the white. And here's our cute little corgi nose. So now I'm going to just double knot the black ends together on the inside and trim off any excess yarn. Moving on to his adorable rosy little cheeks, we're going to create a magic circle with this pretty peach colored yarn, and we're going to single crochet 6 stitches into this magic circle. Now that we've got 6 stitches in our magic circle, we can pull that loose end tight and move on to round 2. Round 2, we're going to place 2 single crochet in the first stitch. So here's our first single crochet and our second single crochet. I'm going to go ahead and pop in a stitch marker so we can keep our place in that first single crochet. And then in the next 2 stitches, we're going to place 1 single crochet, and we're going to repeat this all the way around. 2 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and that's going to be a total of 8 stitches for round 2. At the end of round 2, we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and we're going to chain 1, and then we'll tie off with a long enough tail to stitch these onto our coffee cozy. We want to make sure that we've pulled that magic circle tail tight enough to cinch up any hole that might be left in the center. And here is our rosy little cheek. So we're going to need to make 2 of these. And here is our second one of these. So here are all of our pieces ready to be assembled. I think it'll be easiest to start by stitching on the muzzle. So we'll take the base and the muzzle, and we're going to use the long tail and our tapestry needle to stitch it onto the front of our coffee cozy. So I'm going to use the tail from the magic circle as stuffing for the muzzle, but you can also use polyfill stuffing if you want to. The placement for the muzzle is in the center, in the middle of where the 2 colors meet. We're just going to use our tapestry needle to go through the outer edges of these stitches to stitch down the muzzle securely. I go around it twice just to make sure everything is nice and secure so that the stitches don't pull loose when you're sliding it on and off of the coffee mug, and after it gets washed and dried it stays nice and secure. So now we will tie off on the back side and trim any excess yarn. Next, we're going to add our safety eyes. We're going to count over from the muzzle 3 stitches and place them on that line between where the white meets that yellow gold. And then we'll pop on those safety backings. These are my favorite safety eyes. I'll link them down below for you. I order them in a multi-pack on Amazon. We want these to fit as closely to the mug as possible, so I like to take wire cutters and snip off the excess post that sticks out on the back of these safety eyes. Isn't he just too cute? Next, we'll need to stitch on his cute rosy little cheeks that go in the white portion right next to the eyes. We're just going to use the long tail to stitch around these outside stitches, once again going around twice to make sure it's nice and secure. And to tie off, I'm going to string this second tail through the center and out through the back so that I can double knot these tails together and trim off any of this excess yarn. Ta-da! Now we're going to work on the seam to complete our project. We're going to fold the right side in and line up these rough edges. And we're going to take our tapestry needle and these tails and we're going to stitch up the edges to create a seam. We do want to pay a little bit of extra attention to the top and the bottom just so that when you place it on the coffee mug, it's not pulling apart at the top and the bottom when it gets stretched out. I do sometimes feel like I'm playing battle of the loose ends when we've got a project that has so many loose ends, and that's why I like to weave them in as we go. So we only have a couple loose ends left on this one, so just bear with it and stitch through each stitch all the way up and down. I go through this twice just to make sure everything is once again nice and secure. Here you can see me kind of checking where these colors line up on the right side of the cozy just to make sure that the seam looks really nice on the right side out. So now we're going to weave down these extra loose ends so that we can tie them off and trim off any of this excess. And time for the best part, the little haircut to trim off all these ends. And we're going to flip it right side out to see our finished work. A pretty seamless seam, huh? Turned out pretty nice. And here's our finished little corgi. He is just the cutest thing ever. I'm so happy with how this project turned out. Let me know if you give this one a try. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more fun crochet projects coming up very soon. And happy crocheting!